For decades, Iran has played a dangerous game of hide and seek with the most advanced surveillance systems on Earth. Billions of dollars in spy satellites, countless drone flights, the combined intelligence apparatus of the Western world watching every inch of Iranian soil. But in the last 96 hours, something emerged that has sent shockwaves through every intelligence agency from Langley to Tel Aviv. This is not another grainy photograph. This is not another unverified claim from an exile group. This is the moment the mask slipped. Because for the first time, commercial satellite imagery has exposed what Iran never wanted the world to see. An entire underground missile city buried deep beneath the mountains, housing weapons capable of reaching every capital in the Middle East and beyond. And what these images reveal changes everything we thought we knew about Iranian military power. This is Battle Trace. To understand why this discovery is shaking the foundations of regional security, we have to rewind. For years, Western intelligence operated under a comfortable assumption. Iran had missiles, yes, dangerous ones. But the consensus was that these weapons were scattered, vulnerable, and ultimately destroyable in a first strike scenario. The strategy was simple. If tensions ever boiled over, American and Israeli forces could neutralize Iranian launch capabilities within the first hours of a conflict. Airfields could be cratered. Above-ground facilities could be vaporized. The threat could be contained. But Iran was never playing the game the West thought it was playing. While analysts focused on what they could see, Tehran was building what they couldn't. Deep beneath the Zagros Mountains, teams of engineers were carving out a network so vast, so fortified, that it makes Cold War bunkers look like storage closets. This wasn't paranoia. This was strategy. Iran watched what happened to Saddam Hussein's military. They watched Libya's Gaddafi give up his weapons program only to end up dead in a ditch. They watched Syria's facilities get bombed with impunity. And they learned one lesson. If you want to survive against superior air power, you don't fight it. You hide from it. You go underground. And that's exactly what they did. Now, we need to be very precise about what we're seeing because these images represent an intelligence failure of historic proportions. The facility, located in a mountainous region approximately 300 kilometers from Tehran, appears to span an area larger than 50 football fields. But that's just the surface footprint. The real infrastructure extends hundreds of meters into solid rock. Satellite analysis, cross-referenced with thermal imaging and synthetic aperture radar, reveals multiple tunnel entrances, ventilation shafts designed to filter out chemical and biological agents, and what appear to be blast doors capable of withstanding direct strikes from bunker-busting munitions. Think about that for a moment. This isn't a missile storage depot. This is a city, a functioning military city with its own power generation, its own air filtration, its own command and control centers, all buried under enough rock to survive anything short of a nuclear strike. But the missiles themselves are what have analysts losing sleep. According to sources cited in defense publications, this facility houses Iran's most advanced ballistic missiles, including variants of the Khaybar-Shekhin and the Fatah series. These aren't the crude scuds of the 1990s. These are precision weapons with maneuverable warheads designed to evade missile defense systems. The estimated stockpile runs into the hundreds. Some reports suggest over 3,000 missiles of various ranges are now deployed across Iran's underground network, with this facility serving as the crown jewel. And here's what makes this truly alarming. The missiles aren't just stored here, they're launch-ready. The tunnel configuration suggests a rapid deployment capability, meaning Iran can roll missiles out, fire them, and retreat back underground before a counterstrike can even be calculated. This is a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Let's pause and think like a strategist. For years, Israel's doctrine of preemptive strikes relied on one assumption, that it could destroy Iran's offensive capabilities before they could be used. That assumption is now in serious doubt. You cannot bomb what you cannot reach, and you cannot reach what is buried under 80 meters of mountain rock. The United States possesses the massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb designed specifically for destroying underground facilities. But even this weapon has limits. Multiple strikes on exact coordinates would be required, and Iran has clearly designed these facilities with that threat in mind: decoys, dispersal, redundant systems. So how is the world responding to this revelation? Let's start with Israel. Reports emerging from Tel Aviv suggest that military planners are conducting urgent reassessments. The ironclad confidence that once defined Israeli strategic thinking is showing cracks. If Iran can absorb a first strike and still launch hundreds of missiles in retaliation, the calculus of preemptive war changes entirely. Defense Minister Gallant reportedly convened an emergency session with IDF leadership. The agenda was not made public, but sources suggest it centered on one question: what options remain? Then there's the United States. The Pentagon has remained publicly silent on the satellite revelations, but behind closed doors, the implications are being digested. American bases across the Gulf region, in Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, all fall within range of these missiles. The idea that a conflict with Iran could be quick and decisive is evaporating. China's response was characteristically calculated. Beijing has long maintained economic ties with Tehran, and this revelation only strengthens Iran's hand as a regional partner. A nation that can credibly threaten American assets becomes a more valuable piece on China's strategic chessboard. Expect no condemnation from that quarter, only quiet satisfaction. Russia, meanwhile, sees opportunity. Moscow has been supplying Iran with technical expertise for years. Some analysts suggest Russian engineers may have consulted on the very tunnel construction techniques that made this facility possible. If true, this represents a direct transfer of Cold War bunker technology to a new generation of adversaries. But the implications extend far beyond the Middle East. In Europe, defense ministers are quietly revisiting their threat assessments. Iran's Shahab-3 missiles can already reach southeastern Europe. The longer-range variants reportedly housed in this facility could theoretically threaten capitals as far as Berlin. This creates a nightmare scenario for NATO. An alliance already stretched thin by the war in Ukraine now faces the prospect of a second axis of threat emanating from the Persian Gulf. And speaking of Ukraine, the connections are impossible to ignore. Iran has been supplying Russia with Shahed drones that have terrorized Ukrainian cities. In return, Moscow has reportedly provided missile technology and air defense systems. This is not a one-way street. It's a military partnership that is accelerating on both ends. If Iran feels emboldened by its underground capabilities, it may increase support to Russia. More drones, possibly ballistic missiles. The battlefields of Eastern Europe and the Middle East are merging into a single strategic theater. Then there's the Persian Gulf itself. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the smaller Gulf states have long relied on American security guarantees. But if American bases can be struck with impunity, what are those guarantees actually worth? Already, we're seeing diplomatic recalibrations. Saudi Arabia's recent rapprochement with Iran, brokered by China, looks less like a peace initiative and more like a hedge against American decline. The Gulf states are reading the tea leaves. They see the satellite images. They're making their own calculations. And the wild card in all of this remains nuclear. Western intelligence agencies have long assessed that Iran is a threshold nuclear state, capable of producing a weapon within weeks if the decision is made. An underground facility of this scale would be the perfect location to house a clandestine weapons program. No inspectors, no oversight, just mountains of rock and plausible deniability. So, where does this leave us? The United States and Israel now face a set of options, none of them good. Option 1. Accept the new reality. This would mean acknowledging that Iran has achieved a credible deterrent, that regime change through military force is no longer viable. It would be a bitter pill, but it might be the only rational choice. Option 2. Escalate the covert war. Double down on cyber attacks, sabotage, assassinations. Try to degrade Iranian capabilities from the inside. But this approach has limits. You cannot hack your way through a mountain. Option 3. Attempt a massive preemptive strike. Use every bunker buster in the arsenal except the retaliatory damage and hope the gamble pays off, but the costs would be catastrophic. Cities burning, oil prices spiking, a regional war that could last years. And then there's the wild card. What if Iran isn't finished building? What if this facility is just one node in a larger network? Intelligence agencies are now scrambling to answer that question, scanning satellite feeds for signs of other hidden complexes. Because if there are more of these underground cities, the strategic map isn't just being redrawn, it's being torn apart entirely. This underground city was never just a military installation. It was a symbol that Iran could endure, could survive, could outlast the sanctions, the threats, the assassinations. And now that symbol has been exposed. But exposure does not mean vulnerability. If anything, the revelation may serve Iran's purposes. It sends a message to every adversary. You cannot destroy us, you can only negotiate with us. The age of easy military solutions is ending. The age of underground empires has begun. And when nations burrow into mountains, the surface becomes a very different battlefield. This is Battle Trace. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the United States and Israel will attempt a strike on this facility? Or has Iran successfully changed the rules of the game? If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Battle Trace, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our coverage of the conflicts shaping our world. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and thank you for watching.